I won't. Okay, so asking a question. No, the question is, how many of you actually belong to another networking group outside of BNI? Like a chamber, a meetup group, associations, clubs?
Clubs.
Clubs, yes, clubs. Okay, that's good. Now, at BNI, what's our philosophy? Giver's gain, exactly. Good. So when we, not a lot of other networkings actually teach the giver's gain. If we give business to somebody else, they will give business to us. They don't teach that philosophy. They don't teach the philosophy of how to connect people. So what we're going to look at today is some techniques that you can use when you're out networking that will help you become the connector in the room. So when we look at BNI, we consider that a hard networking group. That is, we have one person per profession in the group, whereas compared to a chamber, which is a soft networking, where you have multiple people from one profession in a group. So that's the difference between a hard and a soft network. Then throw into that you have your service networking groups, which are like your Lions, your Kiwanis, and your Rotaries. They're service orientated. And those ones you may get business out of, but usually you're there for a purpose to serve people. Okay, so when you go to a networking group like a chamber or something, what typically happens, if they don't know the giver's gain philosophy, what typically happens when you go there?
People give you a bunch of business cards.
Right, you've got 150 people hawking 150 products to 150 people that don't want to buy anything. How many of you go with your credit card in hand ready to buy something when you go to a networking meeting? Okay, so here's another way to look at it. So one thing that I do when I go to a networking event is I go neutral. In fact, I'm going to take this off just to prove that I go neutral. So when I walk in, nobody can tell by what I'm wearing what I do. So I have no logos on. Because if you wear something logoed, you're actually selling. You're advertising. So if you think of it that way. The other thing I do is I carry, this is my tool, is a Sharpie, because Sharpie writes on business cards. Especially the shiny ones.
Yeah.
And the other thing I do is I do not take business cards with me. You're probably going to go, what?
Yeah.
Why? Okay, so think of this. You've got 150 people hawking 150 products to 150 people that don't want to sell. You hand out 150 cards, you're going to end up on 150 mailing lists that you don't want to, being hawked 150 products that you don't want to buy. So what you do is you strategically position yourself as a buyer. So you're actually interviewing people in the room to see if you want to do business with them. So an interesting way of looking at things, right?
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Okay, so who is the most powerful woman in the world right now?
Oprah.
Oprah. Very good. Okay, so what does Oprah sell?
Herself.
So she's a hooker.
Oh, I don't think she is. She's a producer.
Okay, so she makes movies.
Books. Promotes books.
What does she sell?
Her personality.
Life.
A recommendation.
She sells giving. She
No, I'll
gives
keep
a
going.
lot.
This is the word, it's a particular word I'm looking for.
Dang.
If you think about it,
Charities.
she picks up a book and says, buy this book.
Yeah.
What is she selling?
Somebody else.
Credibility? What's another word for credibility?
Reputation.
Reputation? How about influence? Do you think she's selling her influence?
I'll agree with that.
Okay, so what if I could show you a way in the next 11 minutes how to become the influencer in a room? Would that interest you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Okay. Be Oprah.
so and we're going to make you the Oprah of the room. How does that sound?
Sweet.
Sounds good. Okay, so when we go to a networking meeting, when I go to a networking event, it doesn't matter if it's straight out networking. It doesn't matter if I'm going to a training event, like if I'm going to a networking for riches class, or if I'm going to how to, what's the other one? Make friends and how to influence people. I'm trying to think. There's one specific one that I really like going to. How to get out your $1 million message. I had a friend, Maurice, who has that class. So when I go there, there's five people in the room that I want to get to meet. The first one is the organizer. So why do you think the organizer would be a good person to get to know?
They know who you want to know.
She organizes.
They know who you want to know. Good.
They have a lot of contacts.
A lot of contacts. Excellent. That's very good. Okay, so when I get to know the organizer, so I always arrive early. The reason I arrive early is because the organizer usually needs help. So I don't think it'd be good to help them carry some stuff in. I have gone to events where I have sat down and stuffed name tags into the holders. I've gone there, I've actually ended up working the registration desk. So I get to meet everybody as they come in.
Yeah.
The reason that I do that is because then I can go up to them afterwards and say, for example, I say to the organizer, Kathy's our organizer. So I go to Kathy, hey Kathy, you know, I really need to know a real estate agent. I've got a house I want to sell. Do you know a real estate agent? Is there one here? And she'll go, absolutely. She says, you've got to know Eric Edelman. He's been in the business for 12 years. And she says, now, you selling or buying? And I go, I'm selling. She goes, you've got to go talk to him because he knows how to market your house and get it sold. He's got a 5-star rating on Zillow, which is really hard to get. And I go, that's great. Can you introduce me to him? Now, why would I get her to introduce me to Eric?
Personal recognition.
Personal recognition, personal introduction. It's that warm referral thing working, right? So by her taking me over there, she's now introduced, she's giving me a third-party validation on Eric. And that's a more powerful thing than me walking up going, hey Eric, I'm Helen, I need a house to sell. Okay? You have to excuse the voice, I've got allergies going on at the moment. Trust me, they're in my tea over there. They've been going all week. So that's one reason you get to know the organizer. The other person you get to know is the speaker. Now, why would you get to know the speaker if there's going to be a speaker at a convention that you're at?
He's going to be at other conventions.
He's going to be at other conventions. Excellent. Why else?
He might mention you.
He might mention you. He has the microphone. The speaker from stage can mention anybody that they want to. They have the microphone. They are in control of the room. Do you think that would be a good influence for you to be
Yes.
a good reason? Okay, and if any of you ever get to meet my friend Casey Eberhardt, you've got to ask him about how he met Dr. Ivan Meisner, because he has a great story about that and why you want to know the speaker. Whenever I go to any of Casey's events, I always let him know that I'm there, because 9 times out of 10, he will mention me from stage. So that's third-party validation for you already. People want to come and know, why is Casey mentioning me from stage? Why would I be mentioning Kathy? Why would I be mentioning Eric? They want to know those people. People are like, well, they've got to be important if the speaker's mentioning them. So again, third-party validation. The other three people in the room you want to get to know are the yap jobs, or the yappers, or the chatterboxes. They are the people that are usually standing under a light. They've got their own little spotlight they're holding on themselves, and they'll have a court of people standing around them. Why would you want to get to know those people?
They're sneezers.
Sneezers?
It's a marketing term which means they influence people around them.
Excellent. Plus they also have they obviously have a large network as well, and you want to get in on that network.
Your name usually Helen.
I will admit I can be a yap job. I'm a self-professed yap job. That is not a problem. Okay, so those are the 5 people I want to get to know: the organizer, the speaker, and the 3 yappers, because they are the people of influence in the room. Now, if you talk to those, and the other thing that I do too before I go to a networking event or a training event is, if I find out who the speakers are in advance, I will go and, stalking's not quite the right word, but it suits for now. I will actually go look them up on Facebook, on LinkedIn, check out their websites. And if they're on Facebook, for example, I went to Maurice's $1 Million Message training session on how to be an effective presenter. And and he had a list of speakers, so I went and stalked them all on Facebook, sent them all a private message, friended them on Facebook, so I got to get to know them beforehand. One of the speakers actually responded. Her name is Cheryl Rush, and her whole thing is how to sparkle from stage.
Oh.
So do you think we might be Sparkle sisters? So I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, you're in Sparkle, because when people ask me how I am, I always say I'm super fantastic and sparkling. So when we got to the event, I went and I hunted her out, and I went, hi Cheryl, I'm Helen. She's like, ah! And we had a big hug. The first time we'd met in person. And so that's how you can also...
Sparkling.
Very sparkling woman. And she had this great purple outfit on that had sparkles on it too. It was awesome. So that's another reason you get to know speakers too beforehand. I've got an event coming up in 2 weeks in Vegas. I'm already going to be starting to stalk the speakers from those events. I tell you. And there's going to be a whole bunch of travel agents there. You want to stand out from other people in your profession. Like if you're at a chamber where there might be several bookkeepers, there may be several people doing Take Shape for Life, there may be several electricians there. You want to stand out from them by doing something different, by positioning yourself as the buyer or the connector. And here's where the connecting part comes in. Say, for example, I go over and I meet Randy. And I find out that Randy's an estate planning attorney, does trusts, probates, and all of that sort of stuff. So I have a great conversation with him, and I use the 10 feel-good questions. Remember those, why are you in the business? And the big one being, what is a good referral for you? Then later on, I'm over here and I'm talking with Michael Karoff. I find out he does websites and SEOing. So I'm thinking, great. But in the meantime, when I'd spoken with Randy, Randy was talking about having to make his website responsive so that people could see it on their phones. So when I'm over talking with Michael, I find out that he's really good at helping people get their websites responsive, because over 50% of people are now looking at stuff on their phones. So your website has to be responsive. And I'm like, well, hang on, Michael, come with me. I will walk Michael over to Randy, and I'll say, Michael Caroff, meet Randy Brown. Randy is a estate planning attorney who does probates and trusts and things. And in talking with Michael, I found he's having a probate issue, so he may be of some service to you. Randy, here is Michael. He does websites and SEOs, and he helps them be responsive, because over 50% of the population are now looking at websites on their phones. And if your website's not responsive, you're going to lose business. They start talking, I just back away and go off and connect somebody else. So now I have left those two. Who are they going to be talking about when I leave?
You.
Do they know what I do?
Yes.
No.
Do they?
No, maybe.
Because when I do that, I like to not tell people what I do. Because later on, when these two guys make their business deals together and all of that, they're eventually going to come back and go, what is Helen doing? They're going to, I don't know. Now they're going to come back and say, what do I do? And then I can go into my spiel. So is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay? So find out what people do. Use your 10 feel-good questions. Become the connector of the room. Become the Oprah of your business. Become the Oprah in the room. Become the influencer. Get to know the speaker, the organizer in your Yap Jobs. And then, of course, become the connector. And I've got 3 minutes left. Wow. Awesome. I thought I was going to take up more time than that. Okay, so I had another thing on here and I didn't write it down. Okay, so if you would like to find out more and spend more time talking about this, now there are meetup things, and I want to do a whole other presentation on meetup, because that by itself, and I know Michael has a great success with meetup groups, but that is a whole other presentation that's going to be done, because there's no way you can do that in a couple of minutes. Yeah, because meetups are awesome and they're extremely powerful if you use them correctly. So if you have questions, you want to know more about what I spoke about today, then please go to connectwithhelen.com. That's CONNECT with Helen.com. And from there you can set up a time for us to either get on the phone, have a cup of coffee, and we can sit down and have a chat.
Can you send us those 10 feel-good questions?
I can send you the 10 feel-good questions again. I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're somewhere.
Otherwise, have a great day and go do some great networking.
Go right ahead.
Great.
Thank you.